Ladies and gentlemen, bounty hunters and scoundrels, Imperials and rebels, Jedi and Sith, space explorers and space conquerors. I am Johnny, writer and podcaster over at Level 1 Gaming. And of course, with me, as always, is the one, the only, and the fantastic BaronJ67. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what up, everybody? I'm actually doing really good, man. I'm BaronJ67, communications director over here at Level One Gaming. I like to talk a lot. We forgot the Federation. Um, we the Feder. If I'm not mistaken, that's a Trekkie, right? We got a Trekkie on our hands.
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, we got a Trekkie on our hands. Okay, folks, space. Like we're the Starcross gamers. Funny enough, without even trying, we actually play a lot of space games. At least we used to.
Mhm.
Not even in the sense of like, it's just another galaxy or another universe that the world exists. No, like we literally played like No Man's Sky, Stellaris, which is the gameplay you see here. Um, I mean, we can
Um,
Mass Effect.
oh,
We can go for days. Planet
what
Side
was
2.
Planetside? That was what I was thinking of there.
We Halo, Gears of War. We play a lot of space games. The Federation,
Oh, yeah.
who that? Who there? But it's a trip that we haven't really taken the time to like talk about space. Um, and just like it's a funny concept that like for one, let me start off by saying I'm in no way, shape, or form a professional. Like I'm not some genius. I just like the idea of looking up and looking at crazy cool facts about space. And then I love TV shows, horror movies, all of that around space. I love it. Like it's so because truly, if it's even a half of as big as people say it is, as scientists say it is, as the science says it is, not scientists, the science. It's so much out there that's possible. And
Absolutely.
I love the idea of the possible, and the fact that it's so big that almost it's easy to say anything's possible. Like usually that's a vague term we use. Like, oh, anything's possible. Sky's the limit. Like, no, literally, because of the sheer number of things that exist out past our horizon, past our atmosphere. It's anything is truly possible, and it's really hard for us, like the average folks, to grasp the idea that life can function in a completely different way than what we know as normal. Like that's our biggest flaw is that we're consistently trying to put what is our norms on someone else's, on not someone else's, on another entity's. Like, and we only measure things for the most part as an average lame person. We measure things in what we know, right? Like, is that fair?
That is a fair assessment. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and you can't really fault folks for that because how can you comprehend? Like, as soon as you start talking about like tesseracts and whatnot in terms of shapes and the fourth dimension and all da. Once you get that far, it immediately, like, a lot of people turn off. Like, bro, what are you talking about? And that's kind of how space is. Outside of our solar system, even within our solar system. Like, I want to say in the news recently, we've had there's like supposed to be some pretty large meteors that are supposed to be going through within visible range in the
Yeah.
next like night or so. Did you hear about that?
Oh, no, I read about a comet that should be passing between us and the moon in a couple months.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be some crazy stuff going down in the next few days. And you know what? This is the last thing, and I'm gonna let you go because I know I'm ranting at this point. The craziest thing I heard, and I want to say it was from either Neil deGrasse Tyson or it might have been from Neil deGrasse Tyson. The How many like near cataclysmic experiences we have on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
Like Be- like it's hard to grasp that idea that we are a ball floating through infinite space, spinning within orbit around a star. Like that's what's happening, and we're just spinning through space fast as hell, like an unimaginable speed, and we're constantly dodging things that are flying at us in a unimaginable speed. Sometimes they get
Yes.
through, and then you hear like barrier pops. Tando said, "I'm not high enough for this talk." Nah,
Wow,
bro.
that's
Like I
gracious.
read a quote. I read a quote from a scientist. What did they say? Something about being in the ocean and like floating up and looking up at the stars is probably the closest thing you can get to truly feeling like you're just rolling, like you really are just flying through space. Like
Yeah.
it's
Minus
wild,
the
man.
mhm. Minus the instant death you would experience of the vacuum, of course.
Yeah, the infinite vacuum. I wonder if we're ever gonna figure out a way to like ease people into space. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
In
Okay,
what?
here in regards to like the instant vacuum. Like, is there ever gonna be a way that we create some type of bubble that slowly introduces you to the vacuum? Can you even slowly introduce anything to a vacuum? Like, I love. Go ahead, Johnny, because I seriously can do this all day.
Of course. So, as Baron is trying to set up here, space is truly vast, to the point where we are not even a speck of sand on the beach, you know? We are
Yeah,
very,
smaller than that.
very, yeah, by multitudes and stuff like that. But something now this is coming out of left field but I had this thought the other day, and I just wanted to put it to you, Baron, on what you thought.
Talk to me.
So, of course, we live in the Milky Way.
Yep.
And of course, in a couple billion years, the wonderful galaxy of Andromeda is going to come crashing into us.
Yep.
And have you ever seen the simulation of what that is going to look like?
No, I haven't taken the time to look at it.
So
Well, art.
basically, it's as you expect. All the stars are gonna like collide, not collide, but stars are gonna go everywhere. And at the end, the super black hole at the middle is gonna, pull, rain everything back in. But a lot of stars are gonna go flying, just into
Whoa.
the vast void between galaxies. And so I was thinking, um, our solar system is not projected to be flung. But I'm just thinking, what would happen if we were?
Mm.
What do you think? Like, obviously the sun isn't gonna die or anything. I mean, it will, but not in this particular situation. But the sky would get a lot darker.
I was gonna
And I
say, I
think,
think, I think before the billion years hit, if I'm not mistaken, our sun will supernova.
yes, I believe it's like 4 billion years left. I think that's the last time I read it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I want to say before we even collide, I think the star, like our sun, is supposed to supernova before we even collide with Andromeda. Like I don't even think we have that long.
Yeah, yeah, like that's that's like tomorrow in comparison to when
In
Andromeda's
comparison,
coming.
no, and that's the creepy thing when you start talking about a galactic scale. Um, yes, it is technically tomorrow. That like, the doomsday clock is like right there. And it's just when I thought I hit my max of existential dread department. That's funny, D. That's funny, Dallas. Like, and for me, um, I'm um, I'm a weird, like, I guess you could say, pessimist. Like, the term I like to use it, I don't even know if it's real or if it already exists. I know I didn't coin it. I heard it somewhere. I'm a pessimistic optimist. Like, I anticipate the worst, prep for the worst, hope for the best. That's just
Hmm.
how I function. That's how I get through my day. It's kind of depressing, maybe, but some people say depressing. I just say realist. It helps me function. It helps me feel on top of things, and I feel less likely to be blindsided. Now, one thing I always understood for me, and this is probably going a little deeper than we really anticipated, but probably not. Like, in terms of religion, right? It's made it a lot easier to, heh, like if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like,
Uh-huh.
am I truly afraid of like a fire pit at the end of it all? Not really. But at the same time, that would suck ass if there was one.
Oh
And
yeah.
like knowing that, it's like a line I walk. So now back to the existential part, the dread of it all. Knowing having a knowing that there's different theories about how time works, right? Um
Yeah.
like whether it's a open book and you can time is just and it's out there and you can just funnel through it as you figure it out and as you see fit, and time is not flowing in one direction, because that's the consensus, that time is running straight, and it is. But when you really think about it, time runs like, I'm listening to a book right now, funny enough that we're talking about this. Believe me, this was not planned, at least by me. Johnny hit me up with this today, but I'm listening to a book, that's called, let me find it, I don't want to butcher the title. I'm looking. Oh, of course, my library. Oh, The Disordered Cosmos by Shonda Prescott Weinstein. And what's dope about that book is it's talking about like astrophysics from the perspective of someone who is a, POC. I think she's black and Latinx, uh, astrologist. So she's
Mhm.
talking about like quirks, but she's talking about all these big broad scientific, space, things, black holes, quirks, neutron stars, blah 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 blah, talking about all these things, but in a perspective of somebody who didn't grow up in that environment, somebody who didn't potentially somebody who didn't grow up with a telescope. Like my kids, just off top, are growing up a lot different than a lot of kids in the neighborhood I live in, because they have a mid-range telescope. Like we look at the moon when we get bored. Um, that's not normal. Like Johnny, did you grow up with a telescope?
I didn't know.
You see what I'm saying? It's not a normal thing. So it's already something different. But this book talks from that. Like she was discussing, dark, what just got proven from proof that exist, waves. What are the waves called? Not Newton. Einstein had talked about them, but they didn't have any proof, and they just discovered proof of it like in the last 3 years. I forgot what the waves are called, but she talks about that, and she describes it as, oh, you drop a rock in a pond, right, and then you get the ripples. That's kind of what happens, like when a star explodes or whatever, and then those ripples we now can track and we know they're real. Well, then she also did something real simple that I wouldn't have thought to do, but she did it for those who maybe never took the time to go to a pond. She was like, all right, when you throw a fork in the sink, dishwater, and I was like, that simple statement, as simple as it was, it meant a lot, because you're talking to a whole group of people who maybe never went to a pond. Like I know
Yeah,
people
what
who
is a
lived in it.
pond?
Yeah, like I know people who live in LA who haven't gone to the beach. Like they did a whole show about it, like a whole episode of the show about it. But that's beside the point. Um, Space. Shit's big.
Yeah, it is big, and let me tell you, something that it's funny. A lot of people always say that they grew up in the wrong time, you know, and it's been described that if you're living today, you're living in the wrong time because you're not, you didn't get to explore the world, but you don't get to explore the galaxy either.
Mm.
So we're
Uh.
in that little middle ground where we don't get to do much, which is unfortunate, of course. But when it comes to space exploration, I want, I wish I could be there to, the day they discover faster than light travel, because
Mm.
every single sci-fi franchise out there, whether it be Halo or Star Wars or whatever that Star something other is that is also out there. Um, they always have a way to travel faster than light, for
Yeah.
the convenience, because, taking 20 million years to get to this other solar system, that would not be very entertaining. Um,
Right.
I want to be there when, if at all, of course, but when we discover faster than light. Because as our current understanding is, it should be impossible. And yeah,
You you
like
know what? Keep going. Keep going.
yeah. But I was just gonna also on top of that it's very interesting that whenever we as a collective, not society, as like a planet or whatever, I don't know, we'll come to the conclusion that this is not possible. And my biggest example of that is flight. You know,
Got you.
they thought we would never be able to, fly, and then like that next year, flight was the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
They got their prototype working. And then the next thing after that, well, it may be possible, but you'll never be able to fly from New York to London. And then
And
someone
then
did
somebody
that
did
like
it.
2 years
Yep.
later. So, like, what's it gonna take? There's no such thing as going faster than light. That's what I'm
Yeah.
waiting for.
Like, and you know what? I'm more what excites me and kind of, and it's funny. So in the chat, Dallas says, I don't want to test it. Hit me when we don't have to go to stasis for half a millennia. Oh, that's funny. I know. For me, what I hope to see, honestly, I wonder what's gonna break our laws, because there are only like four laws, right? Like, there's not that many
Um,
laws of existence. Or I'm using the wrong terms. Um,
laws of physics?
yeah, there's only like a few natural laws.
Yeah.
Like, and the funny thing about those laws, right? I know they've observed them. I don't know if they've completely tested them in other environments outside of Earth, but they've observed them in other, through telescope and through math and other stuff, from what I understand. But that's within our visible, what we can see, what we can observe, and we already know things that happen, like what is it, quantum entanglement, where, like, you have one electron and then electron like somewhere else, or an atom or something extremely far away, and whatever you do to this one, that happens to the other one. Like, there's so many
Oh,
things.
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I believe it is quantum entanglement. Once again, I'm not a professional. These are all just like books I've read, magazines, articles, videos, TED talks, documentaries. Like, this, anything I'm talking about right now, it's through that. It's through no formal training. I don't even think I took a course on anything in space throughout my time in college, high school,
Yeah.
and whatever. So I'm just talking. But
Yeah,
there's
that's fair. But
yeah,
I
I
have a
just want to give
course.
the
A
groundwork
super
for,
expert.
yeah, I just want to give the framework. So, and if somebody is a professional or is knowledgeable on something, please feel free to jump in. Let us know. Or if you know some crazy space fact, just drop it in the chat. Like, seriously. Well, and I say that just to kind of frame what's going on. But I'm looking forward to that day where the things that we know to be absolutely true and without fault are then shook.
Hmm.
And I've always felt that our lack of advancement in every field, personally, has always been profit. But that's a whole nother issue that I don't want to dive into. But and then the fact that we're so stubborn. Um,
Complacency is another.
yeah, stubbornness, complacency, and like just the idea of like in the book I was listening to, the author, I want to make sure I get her name right, Shonda Prescott Weinstein. She talks about how one of the few women who won a Nobel Prize, I believe it was a Nobel Prize, in the field of physics, of particle physics or something like that. They when she was an undergrad, they asked that professor or that doctor asked her, "How do we solve space? how do we solve dark matter, or the problem dark matter, or how do we, like, some big broad statement that most people would never think to ask somebody who's not of prestige. And I think we need to do more of that. I think it needs to be so, because it's probably some farmer, like, real talk, it's probably some farmer out in, I don't know, freaking Egypt. It's probably some goat farmer in Egypt who could probably really answer. And I mean, it could be a goat farmer anywhere, middle of freaking the Black Forest in Germany. It doesn't matter. It's probably some random person who has that random thought that would flip the switch and give the science, whatever scientist, the course to follow for what they need in order to advance everything. Like, because
Hmm.
you know, because I've always felt we've had an issue of over specialization. Because you look at the scientists of the 17th century, 18th century, right? They were usually good at everything.
Yeah, they were the gentleman
Mathematics.
scientists.
Yeah, it was mathematics. It was physics. It was whatever. They were usually, you know, you go back past a certain point, there was no such thing of, oh, this is what they were. No, that was just what they were known for. But they also did blah 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 blah. Okay. Oh, so we got something from Prim. So from what I understand, there is not a way to tell electrons apart. So there is a theory that they are all the same one in different times. Ah, yes. Or what about the fact that there's stuff that doesn't doesn't do anything when observed? Or
Will
let's
the
take,
atom move if nobody's there to see it?
bro, that whole thing of, does a bear crap in the woods, like, or does a tree make noise if nobody's there to hear it, like a tree that falls, like, what, you know what's the scariest thing? Now, not scary, I don't like using that term, it doesn't scare me, it just opens me up and makes me, like, it really further leads to that anything is possible. Let me find it, keep going, go ahead, Johnny.
Of course. So whilst you're doing that, I would just like to see. This is a whole. It's not a whole section of conversation, but allow me to remind everybody that the concept of a wormhole exists, which just breaks all kinds of laws, but
Yep.
they are said to exist. If I'm not mistaken, they're supposed to bend the space-time continuum. I'm assuming they're going more than 88 miles per hour. Um, but they will send you to a totally different part of the universe. As long as there's like the corresponding, um, I don't know what you call it, wormhole. They're like teleporters and such. But man, and then well, what else did I hear? It was there was this idea proposed. I think it was around when black holes were officially confirmed and they got that photograph.
Mm-hmm.
What what if there are such thing as white holes
Yeah.
where, black holes, they suck in all of everything, and the white hole is supposedly like somewhere else spewing out all that matter. So that'd be very interesting to have proven because
Now
it
check this out. Oh, keep going, keep going. I thought you were done. I'm so
no,
sorry.
I was done there. Go ahead.
Now check this out, guys. Yeah, there was a few of Einstein's theories, like the waves. I forgot exactly what waves, but there's a few of them that recently got proven. Now check this out. This is the thing that makes me, that really just says anything can be possible, right? We only see less than 1% of all light. We can only
Hmm.
perceive visible light from 400 nanometers, 380 nanometers to 700 nanometers, according to NASA. Um, and there's probably a bunch of other stories. There's less. That's less than 1% of all known light waves.
Hmm.
The we How can we even pretend to know everything when we can only see 1%? of what exists,
Because math
of what is
proves the rest.
known. Yeah, and that's the thing, math. So now my question is, oh, ghosts. Oh yeah, don't even get me started on that. Me too. For that simple fact, like that's an easy one for me. Like, bro, I'm not. Maybe somebody had a tweak in their eye. Maybe somebody, got hit by whatever, and now they can see a different spectrum. Or maybe it was just the atmosphere was that perfect, bro. The fact that it's the thing that the reason it's a blah 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 blah. The fact that you can get sick just by the weather drastically changing, and they broke it down to like ions or something, like something in the atmosphere that changes and it affects your body because your body has to recalibrate. I'm one of those people. I get extremely sick, like almost like a flu. If it goes from hot to like cold thundering, which it does randomly happen, I get sick. Like I'm done for a day. You damn near throw a flu tag at me. Like I'm just hit. Boom, done.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Oh, bro, it's bad. We could have Yes, that was a thing too. The interdimensional beings, right? Or interdimensional space. Period. I love. So whenever I'm sick right now because of that. See, yeah, that's a very real thing. Or even check this out on when, and this is in term. This is kind of veering off, but not really, because at some extent we're talking about atoms and bonding and things existing, right? When my wife gets pregnant, I get all the symptoms. I get sick. I get back pain. Now, are you hear about people who are like sympathy criers or sympathy whatever? They throw the word sympathy in front of it, and they are that. Have you heard of that, Johnny?
I've heard of the concept, yeah. I'm
Yes. Oh,
unfeeling, so I haven't done that myself.
okay. I know with my wife when she got pregnant, like whenever she gets pregnant for both kids, I'm just down. She's all walking around all chipper, and I'm out here cranky, hurt, sick, like tired, as if I'm the one going through it, and she's just fine. It's the let me see, and then what did Dallas say? What's crazy is I think it's not that we don't have the ability or potential. I see, but we can't consciously process it. Like we could see it, but we can't perceive it. I've always wondered that too, and I've always wondered will we ever have the capacity. Now Johnny made a good point, and I'm gonna let you keep going about how that the math, the science, like, and what's so funny about that is I've always wondered, like, just for challenging sake, like based in our reality, our atmosphere, and then you even see they do tests within vacuums. Like, well, within a vacuum, this always happens, da 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 da, or at least it happens enough to where it's safe to assume this is what goes down. Because once again, there's very few laws. Like, there's a bunch of theories, but there is very few laws.
Yeah. And that's in part because, oh gosh, I have to dig into what is it, like eighth grade
Right.
geography, not whatever it is. A law can only be called a law if it can be proven 100% without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
So, that's why there's only so few of them. Like
Here's
black
the
holes, they were a theory for
yep.
like decades.
Oh no, this is what trips me out. And you guys, if you've been listening to me for all this time that I've been talking for these years of me podcasting, you've heard me at some point get pissed because we did not know as humanity, not just us, not just no, humanity did not know for a fact, at least in modern humans, because of course you go back to like ancient humans, and they knew they had it up in like cave paintings and on statues and whatnot. But we did not know for a fact up until the 90s that exoplanets existed. And when I say exoplanets, that means anything that is classified as a planet outside of our solar system. We did not know for a fact that exoplanets existed. We don't know shit.
Well, I don't, I think it's
It
more a
was
case of,
we did not
it
know.
not
It
being,
was not it there were debates, bro. That there were up until the 90s. They were hardcore debates of whether or not planets existed around other stars.
Yeah, well, you know, people are also running in the 90s, so uh, clearly it was a very turbulent time for everybody. But I think that more has to do with as we were talking about, just the being able to prove it. Because, you can theorize that they're out there. I mean, in a couple decades, well, I say decades, but it's
Yeah,
impossible to tell. But
true. Because
until
it could
we
happen tomorrow.
discover alien, yeah, until we discover alien life, there are going to be people that are out there saying, "Can you believe there was a time we didn't know aliens were a thing?" Like, it's
Yeah,
so obvious, but
and
it's
no,
like you can't make that judgment call yet.
and this is what I'm saying. We don't know shit. Like at the grand scale of it all, if you look at just what we actually can see through our best telescopes, through our best science, what we can see, we still, in the grand scheme of things, do not know shit. Like that, as much as we know, is still not a lot in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
And that
but
and that alone is amazing to me. I don't say this as a negative. It makes me happy because when you just look at it for what it is without peeling back just a little bit, you would think, oh well, there's just so much unknown and it's beautiful. It's scary, but it's beautiful.
yeah, this is true. But then you also have to consider human factors that um not hampered, but it did not promote scientific thinking. Like
True.
the Dark Ages, the fall of Rome and the burning of Alexandria, all the knowledge that was lost, and the priorities were not in the way of science at that time. And then, certain cultures and religions and so forth, like banning, well, not banning, but they had their way of thinking, and science was not like super intertwined with that. But, all that stuff, we could have exoplanets, on the books by now if, maybe some of that stuff didn't happen, but you can't really tell. There's no real alternate dimensions or time machines yet, so um it's really a case of taking it one day at a time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the man. That's the truth, dude. Like, man, I like I just I just love man, I just love the vastness all of this.
Oh yeah.
Like this is why No Man's Sky. This is why Starbound. This is why these games like just truly I connect with them. Just that idea, like for me, if it was just Planet Launch Simulator, like to be honest with you, because that's kind of what No Man's Sky was when it first launched. It was seriously just Planet Launch Simulator. Like, can you get a
Like
ship up into space?
first
And
person Kerbal.
yes, and I loved it, every bit of it. It could do no wrong in my eyes. I didn't realize I had 100 and something hours in the first iteration of No Man's Sky. And that was when it first launched on PlayStation 4. I
Yikes.
had, yeah, and I didn't realize how much of it I played. I played the crap out of it. But when it comes to this space stuff, man, like what is the scariest thing that you've read about, heard about, like something that just like holy crap?
The thing that always makes me pause because as I said, I'm feeling I have no feeling, so of course I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have that sensation of fear. Um the fact that space is actually infinite. There's
yeah,
no end. And what do they say? Like the material from the Big Bang, it's still being pushed in all directions, and there's just nothing that's going to stop it, you know? And then I guess something else that makes you really wonder is the theory of heat death. Are you familiar with that?
Ooh, no, talk to me.
See, it's not what you think. Throwing the word heat in it would make you think of temperature, but not quite. They say heat death is, at least to my understanding, and it's been a while since I looked it up, the Oxford definition or whatever. So, take this with a grain of salt. But the heat death is supposed to be a case of where everything spreads out so far, like galaxies and such. Like there are like superclusters and stuff, but the heat death is like our individual galaxy and I don't know, Milkdromina or whatever, because this will be long after they merge.
Got you.
Is that every single galaxy out there will be so far from Milkdromina and like not equidistant, but just out of range for humanity that we will just be stuck in the Milky Way or Milkdromina. Like we'll have no way to go between galaxies. Have I just like blown your mind or something there?
Whoa. One more time. One more time.
Right. So basically, uh, everything just gets really, really, really far apart. Like, if we were, say, we were a like galaxy-spanning super empire of humanity, it would be impossible to reach another galaxy. Not like, forget even
Wow.
reaching it. We wouldn't be able to even see one.
So by that
And
time,
then I
we would
bet.
literally be in pitch blackness outside when you look up.
Hmm. Like, if
That,
you're at the edge of the galaxy, you would see legit just nothing.
bro. Dude, so Um, there's a famous picture where they took the Hubble telescope and I think for 10 days at the absolute max aperture, I believe that's what it's called, where you just like absorb as much light as possible. They pointed it in a dark space, or at least a space they thought was dark. And that's where you get the famous picture of all the different little galaxies. Um, it's so crazy what we don't see, like what we can't
Yeah.
see with our visible with our eyes, like, and then like time dilation, the fact that that's real, which is funny because you could for the most part prove that time dilation exists to some extent. Like if I'm in a car driving past you and I'm looking at somebody walking, for me the person walking looks slow, but for the person walking looking at me, it looks like I'm going by pretty fast.
Hmm. Oh, I
um
have a
we
story
ex-
about that.
yeah, we experience time at two different things, at two different paces.
Yeah.
um so that what about the theory that we are actually imploding? Ooh, like the explosion technically haven't stopped, like, and we're just riding the wave of it, or that we're actually imploding, not exploding, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so like, it's like the big explosion and then everything's gonna come crashing back for another one.
Like it's just
Yeah. I
um
just thought of this now. I'm sorry to cut you off there,
no, go for it.
but something just thought of now when you were talking there. What if the Big Bang is not the creation of the entire universe? However, it's just the creation of the observable universe and our part of the universe. There
Ah,
could be like an entire super universe out there, and it's
true.
just our little portion that got affected?
And the fact that that is extremely possible, because once again, everything we discuss is based on math, based on what we know, and things we've observed.
Hmm.
That, like, because we've observed, what's that whole phrase? And once again, I quote a lot of Neil, not quote, but I mention Neil deGrasse Tyson a lot because I've listened to a lot of his talks and whatnot. I just love his story. And
He's
I
like the
love
new
hearing.
Carl Sagan.
Yes, yes. Um, I he talks about the whole term, God only knows, and how that's always been used as the end of the measuring stick, and that's always been the, like, hey, we don't know anything else past this point, so God only knows. Like, God, when you use the phrase God only knows, what, like 300 years ago, it's a lot different than the way we use it now.
Yeah.
uh, um I just, that's where I think of, like, the whole observable universe. Like, what's going to be observable 50 years from now, 100 years from now? What's going to be, I don't know. I love it. That wonder. Like, personally, I think we'll get to a point of like some form of internet full dive technology before we fully start living off world.
Hmm.
I'm a believer that that'll happen first, simply because it's, on paper, it seems easier. Like, I could, there's brains here on Earth now. Like, I can test brains and whatnot here now. I could work on humans here now. I can
Hmm.
create simulated worlds already. Like, we already have humans. We already have simulated worlds. The only thing missing is how to get the humans into the simulated world 100%. Like, that
Yeah.
that seems like an easier experiment, in my opinion, than taking humanity off to another planet and having them successfully live and thrive on another planet.
I don't
Um.
know. I think the biggest trouble with uh the the
Oh, Prim brings up a
idea
good
of,
point. Being a
yeah,
shiny marble on a cat's necklace. That blew my mind as a kid. On Men
is
in
that
Black,
right?
that blew my mind, because, as crazy and far fetched as it seemed, who's to say that's not what it is?
You can't say otherwise.
That's the part that I love and bothers me at the same time. I love it and it bothers me. It's like, but then that's that whole loop of an argument to where you would lose your mind, like, going back and forth. And that's, to some point, you got to accept the reality that is in front of you. This is why when I think of crazy people, I don't really I try not to judge them, because
Of
who's,
course.
like, how do I tell you that what you're seeing is not real? Only because the 10 people sitting next to me don't see what you see.
Yeah, exactly, Baron. Like, for instance, don't laugh at the guy that says that the stop sign is looks green to him when you think it's red, Baron.
Stop. Could you imagine how? Could you imagine the persecution that people who had colorblind issues, like, back in when, like, before it was, like, classified and understood? Could you imagine that kid, the first kid who was documented, like, sitting in a classroom, and the teacher said, "Grab your orange paint or whatever, grab your orange pigment," and they grabbed whatever color it wasn't.
Hmm.
Like, that first case, and how ostracized they probably were, and how much
He
crap it
was
caused.
subsequently burned at the stake.
Probably,
No, they
dude. Like,
probably just
skid,
put like some holy water on him or something.
right, dude. My blue could be your orange. Yeah, that's, and it's crazy, because I do my best, because you, like, how do I tell you, like, okay, I've heard doctors say, I've heard stories, my mom, she's doctor, like, I've heard crazy stories. I remember her telling me a story where there was a lady who, for all intents and purposes, somebody put a curse on her. She, every part of her body believed that she was cursed, right?
Hmm.
She was clenching so hard from the curse, as she told it, or as the people family told it, or whatever, I don't know the exacts, that she was basically creating so much lactic acid that she was poisoning herself. Because, lactic acid is the buildup when you're exercising or moving your body, then your body has to move it out, da 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 da. She was, like, poisoning herself. She was killing herself, as we saw it. But from her perspective, she was being, there was a curse on her. It took they actually brought in a witch doctor from what I understand of the story. They brought in a witch doctor and he got rid of the root, got rid of the curse, and she was better. So the doctors were like, okay, so who was right, who was wrong?
Uh, man, I think I saw in with this line of thinking, I would encourage people to go watch a YouTube video. Actually, it may be blocked behind YouTube Red. Not is it YouTube Red or YouTube Premium?
Did YouTube Red become YouTube Premium?
I don't know. I didn't
Me
really
neither.
care,
Yeah,
and consequently, YouTube doesn't care anymore because they like kind of stop that stuff. But
yeah, yeah.
it may be locked behind that paywall. But if it's not, I encourage people to look at the Minefield, I believe it's called, run by the guy that does Vsauce. He does an episode on that. I believe he coins it the power of suggestion.
Ah, yeah. And it's so crazy because it's easy to label it as suggestion. And then it's just as easy as it is to label it as suggestion. It's easy to say it was the other thing. And
Yeah.
who is the burden of proof fall on? And of course, you could do the loop over and over. Well, no, it's wrong because of this. No, it's da 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 da. It's da 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 da. We could do that all day, but that wouldn't be very productive. Because at some point, you got to draw the line and accept some certain ground rules. Now, space, right?
Hmm.
Like, and this rolls over into, aliens. We'll say aliens, right? Extraterrestrial life. I've heard theories that we're being observed. I've heard theories that it's something as simple as a different plane of existence. The same way that ants are to us, we could be to another entity. Which that, in my opinion, that makes more sense than anything else. Because everybody's like, oh, well, why can't we see them? Why can't we this? And I'm like, well, bro, ants don't think, hey, watch out, the humans are coming. At least we don't know that,
They wiggle their antennas in such a way.
right? Like, they click their antennas together, and it's there you go. But it's just that idea. Like, we're in the last 10 minutes, so let's go there. That whole I know, right, Johnny? We already know what team Johnny's going for. Um,
I was already thinking that. So you
um,
guys are on the money.
like we already know. We know what team Johnny's with. We know who he went for in Mass Effect. Um, I
I don't
that
even know who Johnny went with in Mass Effect.
the but it just that whole. I think that's an easier thing to accept because numbers wise, there's a higher chance that it is than it isn't. The numbers alone, the amount of planets that exist, and then even simply the amount of planets that exist that fall in similar range to ours, Goldilocks planets.
Goldilocks, yeah.
The vast amount of that, even though there's a very small amount of them, but that's on the intergalactic scale. There's a small amount of them,
Yeah,
but
but
that small
it's a
amount is
numbers game.
still, yeah, it's a simple numbers game. Numbers wise, they have to be out there, at least in my from what I understand, they have to be out there. Now, are they exactly like us? Are they more advanced than us? Are they more primitive? What's considered primitive?
Well, if you want to use the system from a franchise that Prem likes, they have like their tiers, right? Or it's like a tier 3 civilization or something. With like
Yeah,
it,
oh, that's a good video. I'm gonna find that and I'm gonna drop that link.
yeah. Um, what were we gonna say? What was I gonna say? M class planets, right? Okay. But what I was gonna say is this is why I like the video game Stellaris that people have been watching here. Because as you saw at the very beginning of the session there, you just start with your solar system and you created spaceships, which are cool, but you don't know anything's out there, even the next star system over. And of course, as you expand and your science improves, you do meet other alien powers. You know, they range. They're not just all humanoids like in Star Trek, but as you just saw there, there was a mushroom guy. That was cool.
right?
It will come in all shapes and sizes. Um, but I will just say, just as a rule, if they meet us first, they're probably more advanced, huh?
Yeah, that's a safe assumption. And Jay, I like what Jay said. Uh, we need some sort of logic to keep from going off a cliff, right? And that's why whenever I like to have these talks, at least when I'm talking to a group of people who don't necessarily think the same way as me, which is usually most, I try to keep it as grounded as possible. Like, hey, let's be honest here. As big as everything is, there's most likely another entity out there, at least one. Like that has to be a safe assumption. And then anybody who's just outright like no, and I'm like come on, bro, come on. And then then you throw in the religious aspect, right? I'm like, why are you putting such limits on God? Like always that's always my answer. I'm like, why are you putting such harsh limits? Like why would he be limited to one creation?
Yeah, I
and
know very little on that subject, so I can't really comment on it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. No, but it just that's just that's how I like to ground the conversation because once again, I like talking about this stuff. I watch a lot of videos on it. I don't read as much as I used to. Listen to a few audiobooks like the one I recommend is the one I'm listening to now. By
the
it is
Cosmos.
yeah, The Disordered Cosmos. Actually, there was another one that I listened to by Neil deGrasse Tyson. That was a dope one. It was. Let me find the name of it.
I
Blah,
know
blah,
he
blah, blah.
did like an old Netflix show, Into the Cosmos. That was really good.
Yeah, he did a new take on it because the original was Carl Sagan. Honestly, any Carl Sagan book is worth listening to as well. What was that? Damn, it's gonna. I know I had it.
Whilst you're looking for that, allow me to ask you, Baron, when are we having the alien discussion?
The alien discussion.
Like a whole
Ah,
episode on aliens?
can, we we could do that. Honestly, we could do that next week if you want. I'm down for that. I'm trying to think how we could stretch it out. Yeah, we could do that. I'm down for that.
We
Cause
did
there's a
last time.
yeah. I'm totally down for it. Um, I've always one thing I'll say. Cause we're hitting the final minutes. Um, I know there's always been a school of thought when it comes to interaction with. No, I'll save it. I'll save it. No, I'll say it now because I'm gonna forget. When it comes to aliens, there's always that whole they're here to gather resources or to conquer, right? That's the usual thought.
Yeah, they're playing their own little 4X.
Yeah, they're playing their own. Yeah, they're playing their own forex. They're doing their own Stellaris thing.
Hmm.
I will say this: as much as we do things just to observe, why wouldn't some other entity do the same? There's plenty
Yeah.
of things that we simply do just to observe, just to look at. Whether it's putting a camera in the woods, whether it's taking a probe and putting it in the ocean, whether it's drilling a hole as deep as you possibly can, which I believe that's in Serbia. That
Yeah, and then they could only go like a mile and a half.
yeah, it's something crazy. And then they've seen so much in just that rod of ice or that rod of earth that they've dug up. We there's plenty of things we do to observe. So why wouldn't something else want to do that? Like why how is that off the table? Um it is cool that we could be the first kind of existence in a trillion of years from now in this galaxy. We are ancient beings that are observers of others, mind blowing. Yeah, like I
Oh, yeah,
mean,
we could be the precursors to some other civilization down the road.
but I think that's actually just as scary, if not scarier, than the other option. Because what's that whole quote? Like, either we're alone in this space or we're not, and both are equally terrifying. and
Yeah.
that's true. Like both are very terrifying. Either we're absolutely alone in this truly infinite vastness, or we're not. like,
Yeah.
like, like both are scary. Both are scary in thought. You know, if you let it, of course, if you let it consume you.
Mhm. But I want to
That's
say, yeah, looking at the Stellaris game here, because if I remember correctly, the if you're looking at the screen now, the two little civilizations on the left-hand side there, they make a little federation together, and I get to be part of it at the very end. But that's a that's a great outcome for us. Like
right.
the first contact is friendly, but then you look to the guys to the south who are not very friendly. And let me tell you, as someone that plays Stellaris a lot, 9 times out of 10, our next door neighbors end up being hostile. So I mean, if you want to
Everybody's
use
fighting for
Stellaris as
resources.
a simulator, uh, we better prepare.
But the only problem with Stellaris is once again grounded in our reality.
Exactly. It's like what is it
Earth
like a human
expanded.
way of thought? No,
Yeah.
it's like we're implanting humans' way of thinking into the aliens or something
Yep. Because what good is war for somebody who has no need for anything?
for the sake of it. Their
Hey,
boredom.
and that I mean it's either that or you get Squid Games. But guys, we've hit that timer. Johnny, you got any final words?
Beware of the alien menace. If you see a UFO in the sky, do your duty to the species and blow it up if you can.
um, guys, this has been epic. We're gonna continue it. We'll talk. We'll go more into talking about other life. That'll be the next episode. But
Yeah.
yes, I am BaronJ67,
And I am Johnny Man.
and this has been Starcross Gamers. Now, we have content just about every day here at LV1 Gaming, so make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We have Monday we got 15 minutes of fame. Tuesday we have Ready Play Movies. Wednesday we have our flagship show Double XP. Thursday is gonna either be happy hour with Floor Hugger and Bubbles and I, or it's gonna be Take Two with Floor Hugger and
Depends on
Fame.
the week.
Depends on the week. So this upcoming week it'll be Take Two, and then Friday is Peep Game. Saturday is Ready Press Play, and then Sunday you'll be back with us, and we'll be talking about the Great Beyond. And maybe we'll even talk about our favorite aliens if there are any from different video games. But much love. It's been real. I appreciate you guys. Peace.
You guys take care now.